हेलो हेलो हेलो, क्या हाल चाल दोस्तों। कौन कौन लाइव आ गया है? मैं तो आ गया हूँ। आप में से कौन कौन गया? लाइव ओपी कर दो चैट में। जो भी लाइव है लाइव ओपी कर दो। मैं तो आ गया हूँ। आप में से कौन कौन है? 8:30 बजे, जी हाँ। अर्ली ओपी दोस्तों, या जनरली इट्स ऑलवेज लेट ओपी, फॉर अ चेंज अर्ली ओपी। जल्दी आ गए हम। बहुत ही ज्यादा जल्दी, मतलब 1 मिनट जल्दी। ये तो हुआ ही नहीं है कभी हिस्ट्री में हमारे स्ट्रीमिंग के। आज जो हमने रिकॉर्ड तोड़ा है, इनफैक्ट कायम किया है। सो दिस इज अ फर्स्ट। नाइस। सो यू गाइस नो, आपने इंस्टाग्राम पे देखा होगा कि हमारे आज के जो गेस्ट हैं बहुत ही स्पेशल हैं। कौन है? पहली बार हमारे साथ दो गेस्ट हैं जो इंडिया के बाहर से आपको ग्राफी पे आपके साथ जुड़ेंगे, एंड दे विल शेयर देयर एक्सपीरियंस एंड वट एवर दे नो अबाउट देयर फील्ड्स, रिस्पेक्टिव फील्ड्स। सो आई एम वेरी एक्साइटेड। बहुत ही ज्यादा एक्साइटेड हूँ मैं। और ऑफ कोर्स आई एम स्टिल इन गोवा गाइस, स्टिल इन गोवा, यस। Having fun, enjoying. I hope you guys are also having fun wherever you are. And with that, I'll introduce our two guests. Also, again, a first. We always had just one guest. This time we have two guests. And both the guests, they are very, they're different but alike in a way. One is something that will strengthen your brains, mind, and the other is about, your physique and your health, physical health. So please get up for Laura and Rachel.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi
Hi,
guys.
Rachel.
Hi.
Hi. Namaste.
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 How are you guys doing?
Doing pretty good.
Very well.
Yeah. So, Rachel, how was the lockdown for you?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
How was the lockdown for you?
Oh, lonely and long.
Yeah.
But I spent a
Yeah.
lot of time with books, so could have been worse.
Yeah. Did you learn new stuff like when lockdown happened? I started cooking. Like
I
I
can play
never.
the guitar now.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, I can crochet.
Whoa.
And
Nice.
every week was something different.
Nice. And what about you, Laura? How was it for you?
It was quiet and still, which I think was much needed. And it was really a good recentering. Here, everything had to slow down. Los Angeles is everything's a mile a minute. And here, we just kind of had to take a second and really regroup and focus on what was important.
Oh yeah. So I performed in LA as well. This was in 2014, and I loved the city. I
So
was
fun.
like my first show was in New York City, and after that, the next was directly in LA. And these two cities are so different from each other. Like New York
Yeah.
is like the walking city, and LA is Hollywood and glamour and all of that stuff. Uh, but here's the thing, guys. I am getting used to of this lockdown. I've started enjoying it.
I'm wondering what life will be like when we go back to normal and people have to do anything.
Exactly. Like, I can't imagine like when things will be back to normal, because now I consider this as normal.
Same.
Yeah, I'm normally traveling all the time, like hopping off planes and going to Europe and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to leave my room. Like, I think I'm okay.
But how did you manage to carry on with whatever you used to do, Laura? Like, how did you in the lockdown? Because things change. You cannot step out. You cannot go to a gym and all of that.
Right. It was definitely challenging at first. I think that I was less scared of it than a lot of my community was, because a lot of them haven't had to work outside of a gym or make something work on the run. But I'm always traveling. I'm always working out of a suitcase. So for me, it was pretty instinctual. And I actually fired into coach mode and made sure that the girls and the people that I coach felt okay about it, and we worked as a team. It was actually a really cool opportunity for us to shift, because I do mindset and work around health. We ended up doing a lot more community-based things. We did group workouts on Zooms, and that actually made my girls have a really much deeper experience when it came to falling in love with their health.
Nice. And what about you, Rachel?
I actually ended up writing a book during quarantine. So like the 3 months that we were really strictly not able to go anywhere, I had all these quotes that I wanted to write and ended up writing a book. And I published it in August. And so that was my book, Your Thoughts Serve a Decent Place to Live. And I handmade the entire thing. So I like hand typed every page and scanned it in. And it was like intensive, but I had the time to do it. So I'm proud of it now.
Wow. Sorry, what is it called?
Your Thoughts Serve a Decent Place to Live. I can show it to you. I've got a copy.
Oh yeah, yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, so it was inspired by my mentor who gave me poetry. So that's him on the front. He was my professor in
Oh, that's
2017.
so cool.
Yeah.
So the entire book is like handmade, hand drawn. Some of the doodles are from when I was back in university with him. And there's quotes of his in there because he passed away in 2018, but I wrote down quotes in my notes and so people can still learn from him. So yeah, and it's accidentally a little autobiographical. So there's stuff about my grandparents, about me as a child. I'd never really written that way before, but I had nowhere else to go. So I had to go into my memory to find inspiration, which was new and challenging. That book was hard to write. But yeah, so.
Oh, awesome. So was it something on your mind always, this is something you always wanted to do and lockdown or this pandemic gave you an opportunity to do it, or this was impromptu?
In a way, yeah. When he passed away, when Arthur Smith passed away, I had these like 40 quotes from his that he just randomly said in conversation, and I knew I wanted to do something with them. And this book was like forming in my head of how like the only way I could see it is if I handmade it, which is a lot of work. And I just was always traveling for months at a time and can't really travel very easily with a typewriter. So it was always kind of just in the background. But then suddenly I had all this time and it took me 3 months to write and then probably 2 months to actually put together. So yeah, it was a great opportunity in a weird way.
Yeah, yeah. This pandemic has made all of us a little more productive than what we thought we were. Uh, but do you guys remember, Rachel? Do you remember the first book or the first poem you wrote? How was that like? And when was it?
Yeah, so the first poem that I wrote was definitely like in my class 2017, of course. I actually wrote I panicked. I wrote 70 poems in like a week because he was like, you have to turn in one poem next week. And I was like, and so
Did,
yeah, I know.
did you say 70 poems
Yeah,
in a week
I
without
had
pandemic? With
yeah, it was just like it was my last year of university and I took this class on a whim and I didn't really even like poetry. I was like, I need another class. And then he was like, you have to turn in a singular poem next week. And I was like, okay, floodgates open. So it apparently had been waiting a long time. But the first poem that I wrote that like changed my life and like made me the poet I am today was in 2018. I went to a music festival by myself in when I was living in Florida after I'd graduated. And I like going by myself because you can do whatever you want and you make all kinds of new friends. And I didn't call myself a poet at that time. I was like, I haven't earned the title. I was under this whole impression that I wasn't good enough, which a lot of artists go through. And I wrote this poem and I left it on a desk in a forest where there were people milling around everywhere. And I came back a few hours later and there was this guy reading it. And I'd never really seen a stranger react to my words before. And I was like, so I just like went and sat down. And it was like this big burly guy with like dreads down to his waist. And I was like this little meek, like little human. And I was like, hi. And he was crying and I was like, are you okay? Do you need a medic? Like, what's going on? Like, what'd you take? And he was reading my words and it was my poetry that touched him. And he said that's exactly what he needed to hear. And I was stunned. I had no idea my words could reach people like that. And then the next day I started my poetry account and started sharing online and the rest is history.
Wow. Also, this entire thing sounds like a film in making.
I love that. Yeah, I'm really dramatic, so I like to live my life like I'm in a movie.
Nice. And Laura,
I
what
taught
about
English,
you?
so you're speaking my language. When you say you over deliver for an assignment, I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, Laura, what about you? What was the first time when you lifting weights, and when you started working on being more fit? How was that like?
Well, similar to Rachel, I had always had this idea in the back of my head of being an athlete and running around and jumping around off of things and playing all the sports. But I was a chubby kid turned 320-pound college student. And I wasn't her. I was the kid who watched longingly while everybody else was doing what I wanted to do. And I was in school for all just like writing and things like this. And I never got to have a physical outlet. So when I got to about 320 pounds, my health got really questionable. I did what I always do, which is I tried to get healthy. I turned on a YouTube video. I did my best. And about 2 minutes into the YouTube video, I was dying. I was exhausted. I was tired. I was sweaty. I was slumped on the floor, and my dog was making sure I wasn't dying. And I, for the first time in my life, after years and years and years of just trying and feeling like I was failing, I realized I just wasn't tired anymore. And I pressed play. And that for me was a big game changer just in the way that I relate to life. I realized that I wasn't failing in that moment. I was just trying and continuing and getting better. And so I did that for a couple of days, a couple of weeks, just constantly pressing play and then pausing and resting. And by the end of it, I made a commitment. I'm going to do it for 7 days. I'm going to press play and finish this video for 7 days. And at the end of 7 days, I'm going to join my college gym, and joined my college gym and was there for 5 hours. So the minute I realized I wasn't failing, I fell in love with it. So that was really all that was holding me back.
Awesome. Both of your stories are so inspiring that, I can see a movie in making, like even yours, same thing, Laura, like this is a film in making, like, because what are films, they inspire you, for things, they motivate you, and both your stories are so inspiring. Rachel, I'd like to ask you that how the scene in poetry has evolved over the time. Like a lot of people use poetry to express themselves, also their opinions and stuff. But have you seen the change since you started?
Yeah, I've definitely noticed a little bit of a difference, especially from going from an academic point of view of poetry to like just the world in poetry. So it's definitely become more accessible for anyone. You can be anything and you can be a poet, because I believe that being a poet is part of who you are, not just like a job that you take on. Like you can be a firefighter and a poet. You can be a fast food worker and a poet. Like you can do it both. You just have to reach out and take it and let it be a part of you. So I think it's something that allows like a soul expression that people can use as a self-discovery tool, and like you kind of figure out what's going on inside of you, because art to me isn't about being good enough or being the best. It's like breathing. You do it because you need to, and you do it because not just to be the best, but because it's just part of being human. Like dancing and singing, everyone should be able to do that without feeling judged. Yeah.
Nice. And what about you, Laura? Because when we talk about exercising and gymming, working out, so even the science of working out, there's so many new things, constant developments keep happening, new tools, exercises, all of that. So what are the things you have noticed since you started?
I think when I started, I was just so excited that I didn't have any idea what I was doing, and I was just determined to be moving, which I loved. But as I fell more in love with fitness, I really started to engage in understanding nutrition. And really what I fell in love with was understanding how the mind works when it comes to our relationship with our health, and how much of a role your thoughts play in your actions. So that ended up, what started out as just loving fitness ended up falling in love with transformation and getting my transformation specialist certification, and focusing on how anybody, not just somebody who's trying to work out, but anybody who's struggling in a marriage or a relationship, or has a job that they hate, or has a job that they love but they're afraid to pursue, all of those people are affected by the same mindsets that go into our perception of failure when it relates to our health. So that opened up a whole world for me of understanding just how people relate to each other and relate to themselves, and what we say to ourselves, and how we can change that.
Cool. So even I can start working out if I get motivated enough. Is it possible? Is Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Cool. Rachel, I'd like to ask you, in your poetry, do you make sure that you rhyme, or you don't rhyme? It's okay, or how does your poetry? Do you make an effort to rhyme the poem?
Yeah. So I prefer, normally I write free verse, which is generally without rhyme, but there's still a lot of tools that you can use. You can use slant rhymes, which are rhymes that like don't completely match. I rarely use rhyme schemes. If I want to challenge myself, I'll write a sonnet because they're one of the most difficult things to write. But it's kind of like, as a poet, you can practice all different kinds of poetry. You don't have to just do one, you get to play around, but I definitely lean towards free verse and no rhyme.
Cool. And who inspired you? Was there like a particular poet or somebody, like whose
Yeah,
inspiration?
I would say if there were two people, it would definitely be Arthur Smith, who I mentioned before, because he completely redefined poetry for me. I thought I didn't like it, but I actually just didn't understand it until I took his class. And then there's another poet who lived in the 19th, like the turn of the century, and that's Rainer Maria Rilke, and he's an Austrian poet. And he wrote a book called Letters to a Young Poet, and I read that from a recommendation from another poet friend, and it absolutely changed my perspective on just what it means to be an artist and to be a human. So I would definitely recommend that book to anyone.
Wonderful, thank you. And Laura, what about you? What was your motivation? Was it a person or?
When I got started, it was simply just my family was my motivation. But as I became more familiar with fitness, I, discovered the intricacies that go into bodybuilding and shaping somebody's mind and shaping someone's physique. And I started to look up to these incredible trainers who were completely transforming their clients. And I ended up getting to work for them. So that was really exciting to sort of find, without prompting, just letting the universe do its job. I sort of just wound up in their laps as their assistant. So that was really cool to work for some of the best trainers in bodybuilding and learn from them and pick their brains and just really see the inside of the sport.
Nice, nice. So who is watching this stream right now, guys? To let you know, Rachel and Laura both, they have worked towards this, and then they have a number of years of experience behind them, and they're gonna share all of it with you on Graphy app. Rachel's chapter is on 22nd of Jan, which is tomorrow, 8:30 p.m. That's Indian Standard Time, and Laura's is on 27th of Jan, 7 a.m. Yes, because it's about fitness, you gotta wake up early, bro. So yeah, so these are and I'll tell you from the description, you can click on the link and download the, yeah, that's where. So if you see on my screen right now, you click on the link, download the app, and here's the best part: for first 7 days, it's absolutely free. Yeah, exactly. You don't have to pay anything at all. Yeah, right there. That's Rachel on the screen. Yeah. So yeah, for first 7 days you don't have to pay anything. It's like a trial. Uh, join the Graphy. Attend their chapters, see how you feel, and take it from there. And that's Laura. Wow, already look like a Hollywood star in this picture, Laura.
Well, thank you. I was on a TV show called Ultimate Tag. I'm one of their pro taggers. So we play superheroes.
Wow. Oh.
Yeah.
You
So
are a
that's where.
superhero.
Thank you. Well, I'm very tall and very scary, so it works for me.
Nice. So, especially Laura, you just mentioned that you also now teach people, so how was it? Because you were breaking stereotypes, like you were teaching men for a change. It's very different. Being a female,
Right.
teaching guys and about masculinity and, working out and all of that stuff, which is always generally the other way
Right.
around. So how was that?
Almost always. But well, I mean, I'm used to teaching men. They're just usually 12 to 17. I'm a high school and middle school teacher formerly. And I'm very used to handling boys who don't want to listen to me, and that ends up being who I coach as well. But I initially worked with bodybuilders and men, and I love working with them, but I also fell madly in love with working with women who are struggling with their health, because I feel like as women, we carry the world on our shoulders. We're constantly overshooting and over offering and taking care of everyone in our lives. And the same goes for men, but we're always quick to say yes and quick to take on other people's burdens and help them. But when it comes to our own relationship with ourselves, I think there's a lot of shame that we don't talk about there. And there's a lot of self-judgment and a lot of, just feeling like you're a failure, feeling like you're not good enough. And so when I started coaching men, I fell in love with it. But when I started coaching women, it opened up an entire world for me of understanding that anybody can do anything as long as they get out of their own way.
Nice. Rachel, what about your community when you started poetry? How was the community? Because there are people who were, who already were doing this, and were they welcoming or?
Yeah, so the poet community, I didn't realize signing up for online presence would mean I would get like a community of writers who all look out for each other and help each other. And one of my friends, Wilder Poetry, she helped me with publishing my first book. She like talked me through it. And so now I do that for other writers who come to me and need advice if they need to figure out how to self-publish. I made an entire course on that and help where I can. And yeah, the community is very loving and very open. And as long as you write from a genuine place and like show your heart and your soul, like they'll want it and they'll want more. It's kind of incredible to be part of.
Nice. So there's Aditya in the live chat asking, Rachel, do you follow GBS's poems?
Doesn't ring a bell, but I will definitely have to look them up.
Cool. And there's another question from Pronami asking, would love to learn more about Rachel's views on post-colonialism and poetry. How is it similar or different when compared to other genres or literature?
Oh, that is an academic question. So, well, poetry obviously like it evolves with the time. Like people can be a little bit more expressive and are a little bit less tied down to structure because academics aren't as like in play with every poet. So you have a little bit more freedom. I think poetry will always be evolving with what people need it to be. And also I think poetry can be anything that you need it to be, like, and I think anything can be poetry. It doesn't even need words sometimes. So there's a lot of freedom there. And when you get taught as a child of poetry, you obviously usually feel restrained by like rhyme schemes, or you have to be as good as the greats that you read, but all you have to be is honest. And that's one of the hardest things people have to be, is vulnerable with themselves. And then the next step is being vulnerable with others, which is super scary, but really rewarding if you can get past that fear.
I couldn't agree more. Laura, I have a question for you. Again, this is from the live chat right now. This is from Preshow. Interesting question. He's asking, do you think women need more physical fitness as they work a lot harder and have more pressure than men?
Do I think they need more physical fitness? I don't think that they need more physical fitness, but what I do think is because they do work so hard, we have a hard time prioritizing ourselves. So I think while maybe someone is in the gym working out, they can truly be there and be present, or they can have their focus split. I think that physiologically, everybody's the same. We can all use the same amount of exercise, but I do think that the stress release that comes from putting your phone down, stepping away, and really focusing on time for yourself in the gym or in your own space and being active is a huge stress reliever that maybe women could touch upon a bit more.
Yes, Rishabh, you got your answer. Divyam is asking question. His questions are from Rachel. He's asking, on what topics do you prefer your poetry on?
I definitely lean towards nature. I often, a lot of my metaphors come from nature. It inspires a lot of people. I'm sure if you've read any poet, they've written a poem about the ocean and the moon. I think that's like something people always go back to. But yeah, and as a street poet, it's kind of, you have to be ready for anything, because street poetry is what I'm covering in my first lesson. And that's basically, if you've seen a musician busking in a train like station or something, poets will do the same thing, but with a typewriter. So anyone can walk up to me and give me a topic, and I write a poem for them on that topic in like 2 or 3 minutes. So it's kind of just being open to anything, but I definitely try to connect metaphors back to nature because that's something everyone can understand and connect with.
Cool. Okay, so now I have a question. For example, if I were to attend your chapters, both of you, what are the basic requirements? Do people need to be ready with something for your first chapter? What would be the best location, for them to work out or practice or write or whatever? You both want to share one by one, like something they should be prepared. Yeah, Rachel,
Sure.
you wanna
Well,
go first?
mine probably.
So go ahead, please, Laura. Yeah, go ahead.
Mine probably sounds like you need a bunch of equipment or something like that. But what we're actually really going to work through is there will be elements of movement, so have a little bit of space, but otherwise we're really going to focus on the mind, the way that the mind plays a role in your relationship with your fitness. So instead of just giving you a workout that you could get online, we're going to dial in on how do I stop being my worst enemy? How do I set commitment strategies? How do I focus on actually achieving these goals instead of just making lofty resolutions and then letting them flop? So you don't need much, but you definitely need a willingness to keep going every week. So a promise to be there every week and a little bit of room.
Yeah, so willingness should be on the top of your list, guys. If you wanted to know, that's the first. And Rachel, anything you want to add for your graphic
Yeah.
chapter?
For me, just a notebook and a pen to take notes and to start writing after when you feel inspired. And we'll be going over topics that are not normally discussed in traditional academic poetry classes. We're going to talk about poetry as a part of your soul and then something that is already yours, and get over the thought that you're not good enough because you are, everyone is. You can do it. And so that's what I'm going to be focusing on. Yeah.
I'm going to take one more question from the live chat. This is from Swapnil. Swapnil is asking, is there a particular meter you prefer in your poetry, Rachel? Yeah.
No, I don't write to a specific meter. I have written in iambic pentameter before. It almost drives me crazy, so I don't do it often. I write, and a lot of my verses will sound like music and with alliteration and things like that, but usually it's accidental. But as you grow as a writer, you kind of start to do those things more innately. So that's what we want to start covering, is just writing more often, because you're always in a period of growth as a writer. Like, it's always okay to keep growing. Your poetry may not be where you want it to be now, but if you keep going and keep writing, it'll change and evolve and surprise you.
Nice. So the same person, Swapnil, who asked this question, he's requesting, again, you, Rachel, please read some of your favorite lines.
From like something that I've written? I can do that. I can read the one that I mentioned that convinced me to start sharing my poetry. I pulled it out just in case, because I thought someone might ask. But so this is the poem. It's not super long. I wrote it street poetry style, which is kind of where you just start writing and you don't stop and you don't change anything. And this is the one that I left at that music festival and found someone reading later. But it goes, "Dear you, yes, you. Whoever is reading these words, I am writing to tell you that this isn't supposed to be easy. Listen for a moment. I know you're hurting. I am too. The sad truth is everyone is in some kind of pain. Isn't it beautiful, though, to feel anything at all, to be alive? That terrible, wonderful pain is what fuels you to do more, to be more in this time that we are given. So don't think of pain as something like poison to get out of your system as fast as possible. Think of it as gasoline being poured into a fire, into the soul that flickers within you. You may look at me and say, I do not see the flame. All I see is darkness. But darling, let me assure you that you are the light in the dark, and you simply cannot see it because it comes from within. I can see it. We all can. So, my love, believe me when I say your light will continue to shine through the good and the bad. It will guide you. Trust in your fire and do not be afraid to burn." Thank you.
I'm not sure it's audible all the way from India
Oh, I
to
can hear.
them. But yeah, that was wonderful, awesome. Also, there's a next question, because you mentioned darkness in that poem. Piyush is asking, Rachel, do you believe in words come from darkness and goes into darkness?
Yeah, I think some of the deepest things that you can write come from a place of darkness, and being able to show that to the world takes an immense amount of bravery and courage. And I definitely can feel for that, because courage does not come naturally to me. I have to choose it. But I wrote a poem recently in the past couple years, and I'd like to think the darkness inside me is only ink. And when I'm hurting, it bleeds out into words worthwhile. So I definitely would agree with that.
Wow. Just to remind you guys again, Rachel's Graphy chapter, the live thing is tomorrow, 22nd of Jan, 8:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, same time when we started the stream. And Laura's is on 27th of Jan, 7 a.m. And I'd also like to ask you guys that what is it that how many chapters we're looking at in your
I have
Graphy
6.
session? 6, yeah. And what about you, Laura?
I believe we're gonna do 8. So unless something exciting happens, I think we're gonna do 8.
8. I think throughout all of them are going to be exciting.
Fingers crossed.
And what a person, like anybody who's attending, what can they look forward to? What are they going to learn if you were to tell them?
For mine, I think this is definitely a game changer when it comes to how you relate to fitness, but also it's not as simple as you work out. That's not what's stopping you. If you've tried before, and I think most of us have tried, you kind of joked like, even I could do it, but we've all tried to be our best version of ourselves. And it applies a lot to what Rachel's talking about, this fear that your failure is inevitable, or you're taking missteps, but really you're just in a moment of growth and opportunity, and that's what we're going to work on.
I try it on 1st of January every year.
And what about the 3rd of January?
That's when I'm going to join Laura's Graphy.
Perfect.
So also, is there a particular age group that's going to benefit the most out of this? Or
I think that the age group that's going to benefit the most is usually someone mid-20s to mid-40s, somebody who's already fallen into the flow of their life and is in a routine and feels stuck. If you feel stuck and any part of your mind is constantly drifting back to the idea that you should be healthy, or you should work on this, or you avoid the reflections in the mirror, or avoid taking photos, if that's you, if you feel like you're running from yourself and life is getting away from you, then this is perfect for you. We're going to slow
cool.
things down.
Okay. From live chat, there's a question from Swapnil. Laura, for you, is asking, will you be teaching some quick motivation hacks? I cannot commit to discipline.
Absolutely. That's pretty much going to be the focus, because I think everybody understands that if you pick up weights and you curl them, you can do it. But there will be quick motivation hacks. There will be how to set long-term commitment strategies and really focus on goal setting instead of just lofty resolutions. Absolutely, that will be in this Graphy.
Awesome. I like his honesty.
Yes, as do I.
Divyam is asking, Rachel, can poetry become a career, and how do you connect your thoughts to make a poem? Because some lines come randomly in your mind when you're sitting alone or anywhere.
Yeah, so poetry can definitely become your career. I mean, I'm still in the ongoing process of building a career in poetry, and I've been at this for 3 years. So it's definitely, anything in the artist's field takes time, but I think it's worth it if you stick to it and you want it badly enough. And as for inspiration can come from a lot of places. There are the lines that kind of hit you when you're doing something, and you'll randomly write it down on your phone to play around with later, or maybe the poem will come to you in full. And a lot of times people will think if they don't have that type of inspiration coming, then they don't have inspiration, but you can actually go looking for inspiration. And so I'm going to be covering that in Graphies. And a lot of the lessons will be going back to that, because a lot of people don't know where to go looking for inspiration, but if you look for it, you'll find it. And I'm gonna tell you how.
Nice. This happens a lot with me. Like, I think of something, I observe something, and I'm like, oh, I can write something. This is funny. And I write it down in my phone, take down the notes, and then later on, I sit and then try to elaborate and, exaggerate, because in comedy, that's what we do. So all of that. Yeah. Also, Rachel, do you hit writer's block?
So I have a theory that writer's block is a myth, and we're going to be talking about that. So we are going to get writer's block and throw it
Give
out.
me a fist bump right now, because because that's what one of my writer friends told me, that writer's block is created by writers.
Yeah, exactly. It's writers who are just like, you know what, not today. But
When we feel lazy.
Yeah, it should. Writer's block initially is kind of just a fear of you don't want to write because maybe you're scared something's good enough, maybe you don't feel it, but you can always put your pen to the paper and write about why you don't want to write or what's holding you back. But there's always something under that layer that maybe you're afraid to say or maybe you don't want to say, which means that you should say it. So yeah, we'll be talking about that too.
Awesome. Laura, this next very interesting question for you. I'm smiling as I'm reading. Yeah, it's from Medha. She's asking, Laura, I'm eating a tub of ice cream while watching this. Is there hope for me?
There's absolutely hope for you. I'm usually eating a tub of ice cream while I do things like this. So don't worry. We're gonna find a way to take your relationship with ice cream and make it something that you're allowed to have.
Yeah, Medha, you don't even want to know right now. I'm streaming and you want to know the support of my phone right now. So there's hope for everybody. Yeah. Also, there's a question from Piyush for you, Laura, again. He's asking, I don't understand it, but I'm gonna maybe it says
Sure,
your views on IF.
Intermittent fasting. So
Okay.
I think intermittent fasting, the goal is that you're shortening your eating window so that you're eating less food throughout the day so that you can kind of eat more food in a smaller quantity. I think calories in versus calories out, I think it has merit, but I also think it can lead to some really bad relationships with food because it thrives on the idea of restriction. So if you and your relationship with food, you're choosing that because it's something really positive and it feels really good for you. And when you eat, you enjoy it. But when you go about your day, you don't really think about food. I think it's perfect for you. But if you notice that tiny little, devil on your shoulder that's begging you to binge or begging you to go off the rails, intermittent fasting might not be for you. It's a really good strategy for people who are committed, and physiologically it's great. But if it forces issues with your relationship with food, it's a no.
Cool. So yeah, you got to decide, guys, what's more important, your relationship or, the other ways to, work out and stay fit. Don't spoil your relationships. That's what I'm trying to say. So next question is from Daksh for Laura again. He's asking, how do we get the motivation to start working out? I want to at times, but then my bed and sleep keep getting in the way.
Yes. Okay. So what I realized when I was struggling was I spend a lot of time doing nothing. I, at the time, watched a lot of TV. I spent a lot of time just sitting around or hanging out with my friends doing nothing. And what I realized is we put so much mental energy into stressing about our food and stressing about when we're going to work out and stressing about that we should be working out. If you think about it, in the background of your day, it probably pops up routinely 10 to 20 times. You're using a ton of energy on that. A workout takes 20 minutes. So I like to tell my girls, it takes 20 minutes to do it and a lifetime to stress about it. So you pick one. You've got to pick your poison. I cannot stress enough. You can get such a good workout done in 15 to 20 minutes. And now that we are spending more time at home, there's really no excuse. Even just running up and down your stairs is it's a good break, but it's also such a good release when it comes to stress and emotional issues.
I'm going to start doing that, running up and down.
I see those stairs.
Okay, this might be the question of the day. This for both of you. Laura, do you write? And Rachel, do you have a strong fitness regime?
I definitely write. I taught middle school and high school English and Greek mythology. My background is in philosophy and political science, and I have my master's in education. So I am a writer. Before I was into fitness, I was a writer. And if you look at my content, it's not the usual fitness creator content because most of it's free verse and poetry and captions that are written to try and find that part of you that's stopping you instead of just giving you a workout routine.
Awesome. And what about you, Rachel? Do you have a
I would
workout routine?
a strong fitness workout routine, I would have to say no. I used to travel a lot, guys. Like I would backpack in Europe for like 6 weeks, months at a time, and like that's a workout. And I was like, this is where I'm getting it in. I'd be like in so like great shape. But this past year, that is a hard no.
You gotta shoot me a message, Rachel.
Guess what? That's Rachel, 27th of Jan, 7 a.m. Indian Standard Time.
There we go.
Rachel.
There it is.
Yeah. Another question for Rachel from Divyam is asking, are you thinking to start your YouTube channel where we can listen to your poem when we are listening alone, and I'll be the one of the first 5 subscribers, he's saying, if you
So I don't have plans to start a YouTube channel right now. I'm juggling a couple other projects, but I have started posting a few more spoken words on Instagram, and will continue to put more up there. So that's the best place to keep up with me for now.
Rachel, you got to do this on TikTok. You got to read your work on TikTok.
I know. I keep meaning to download the app. Like I'm 24, so I feel like I'm just like at the thing where I'm like, I don't really know.
Oh, give it like a month. You're going to be doing dances like the rest of us.
Oh, you're probably right. I'm like, I'm
fitness.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna figure.
Tejas is asking, Laura, to you, are protein bars in bracket yoga bar good?
So protein bars, food is not good or bad. That's number one. Food is not good or bad. We place judgments on that. Protein bars are, in my opinion, a lesser version of protein. So if I was just looking for protein, best choice, go straight to the source. Pick something that is a real food. It's less processed. But protein bars are fantastic when you need protein and you're on the go. And for a lot of us, that's the priority, is how can I make my fitness work with my lifestyle, and not how can I be miserable eating a hunk of chicken while everybody else is living their life. So protein bars aren't good or bad. No foods are good or bad. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to flesh out the idea that anything, any food is a big no-no. If it works for you, it works for you, and we'll make it work.
Yeah. This sounds like it's not you, it's me.
Exactly.
But guys, both of you, why Graphy? How is this good platform for your content, both of you? And how do you think people are going to benefit, the users who are going to come to your Graphy? How they're going to benefit out of this?
From my perspective, I'm a teacher. That's my background. I love to teach, and I've found that on Instagram, sometimes a caption can really resonate, but a lot of times people are just there to hit the like button and move on. And it's not a space where they're really ready to take in information, sit with it, and make changes. It's more of a distraction mechanism. So for me as a teacher, I'm always looking for outlets where I can truly educate and have people sit down and slow down and focus on themselves. And I think Graphy really does that, especially with the visual component and the engagement factor of you being able to go back to that content, but also knowing when you're in this space, you're here to learn.
Awesome. And Rachel?
Yeah, very similar with like the space being dedicated to actually learning. And also there's just more of a worldwide outreach. Anyone, anywhere can like tune in. And normally when I'm teaching like workshops at like my local library in East Tennessee, like I have people from East Tennessee and that's it. So this is like something I never could have expected coming, but I think being able to reach anyone is kind of a huge plus for me.
Cool. And with that, one more time, guys, Rachel's Graphy is on 22nd of Jan, which is tomorrow, 8:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. And Laura's is on 27th of Jan, 7 a.m. Indian Standard Time. And this is how you can download the app. We'll share the screen and show you. And the description, there's a link. Just click on it. Us pe click karo, download karo. Guys, I'm going to do some Hindi. Us pe click karo or download karo, और 7 दिन के लिए Graphy बिल्कुल free. Free. Yeah. For 7 days, first 7 days, you don't have to pay anything at all. बिल्कुल कुछ नहीं पे करना है. ये इन दोनों ने क्या क्या कर रखा. एक इतनी पोएट्री है, जबरदस्त पोएट्री करती हैं. एक फिटनेस इंस्ट्रक्टर हैं. ये आप ग्राफी की ऐप डाउनलोड करके बिल्कुल फ्री में कर सकते हो। 1 हफ्ते तक आपको बिल्कुल पैसा नहीं देना, जीरो, नथिंग। एंड उसके बाद आपको जैसा लगे कि हाँ यार मजा आ रहा है, करके देखते हैं, मैं मोटिवेट हो रहा हूँ, वर्कआउट करने से हो रहा है, मुझे फर्क पड़ रहा है, या मैं पोएट्री जो इतने टाइम से करना चाहता था, करना चाहती थी, वो हो रहा है फाइनली, दिस इज वर्थ इट। सो टेक योर टाइम, है ना। और डाउनलोड अभी करने में क्या जाता है, एकदम फ्री है, डाउनलोड कर लो, 7 दिन बाद देख लेना अपने हिसाब से, जैसा आपको फिगर आउट लगे, जैसा लगे सही, है ना। तो ये सीन है। सो that was a little bit of Hindi for you guys, Rachel and Laura.
We followed right along.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I thought so. Oh, that's gonna be my graphy for you guys somewhere down the line.
Please.
I love languages.
Cool. So we're gonna conclude today's this live stream, but I've been told there are some giveaways.
Yes. I am going to have some giveaways going on each episode, some smaller giveaways and some shout outs. So I'm going to give you guys assignments each episode, and the people who do them, someone will get a shout out each week. And then ultimately at the end, my coaching process is a lot more in depth and it's usually one-on-one. So I am going to give someone who does all of the assignments through the course, I'm going to give away a coaching session with them. So I'm going to get on the call. We're going to do a one-on-one coaching. We're going to figure out where your food should start, what your workout should look like, but also what are your personal hangups and how can we work around those issues of motivation.
Awesome. That sounds very tempting. Like now I feel like just running down those stairs.
See? Stairs. Let's go.
Yeah. Are there any giveaways, Rachel, for you?
Yeah, so before every chapter, I'll be posting the time and everything on my Instagram. And so I'm giving away signed poems where I'll be mailing an actual poem to you. And all you have to do is tag a friend in the comments of the posts before each session. And so I'll be choosing a winner from that. And we may have something else come up too. So we might come up with something, so stay tuned.
Oh, wonderful. There's a request in the chat, in the live stream. There's a request. It's up to you guys. I'm just gonna read it out. If you guys comfortable, we can do that. Daksh is saying, Nishant Bhai, can you teach them some Hindi? So Bhai is like elder brother. So he's telling me, can I teach you guys some Hindi?
Let's hear it.
If you guys are up for it, yeah, let's hear it.
What are you gonna teach us?
Okay. Let's try and tell them to download the graphic thing and all of that in Hindi. Yeah. Okay. We'll go really slow. Okay. आप लोग डिस्क्रिप्शन में लिंक पर क्लिक करके
click. This is becoming a mouthful.
Yeah, that one again.
Click करके.
Okay.
That was easy. Graphy app download.
Graphy app download.
कर सकते हो.
कर सकते हो.
Awesome! Yeah! Woohoo!
Oh, I thought you were going to make us recite that whole thing, and I was feeling like I was in 8th grade class all over again. She was going to cheat.
I wouldn't know how to spell anything though.
High five, everybody. Yeah, good job. Yeah. Thank you so much, Rachel and Laura. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you. Once again, at the end, I'm going to tell people when's the graphic chapter for Rachel. It's tomorrow, 22nd of Jan, 8:30 p.m. IST. Don't forget that. And for Laura, it's 27th of Jan, 7 in the morning, 7 a.m. Do not forget that. Download the Graphy app from the description. And for first 7 days, it's absolutely free. Absolutely nothing. And you can take it ahead from there. But let's say bye to Laura and Rachel. Thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you so much, Laura.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, this was fun. And all the best for your Graphy chapters.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Good luck with the stairs.